Here are 3 mistakes that I made when I launched my e-commerce store that led me to have $0 in revenue and thousands of dollars in startup expenses. You need to watch this video if you're planning to launch your own e-commerce store so you can learn from my mistakes and save yourself thousands in unnecessary spending. First, I want to go over why I wanted to launch an e-commerce store in the first place. First is that I wanted to have supplemental income. Having gone through layoff during COVID myself, I understood the importance to have a diversified set of income stream. And that's why, even though I currently have a full-time job, I want to dedicate my spare time into creating another source of income for myself. And I believe a whole lot of us are in the same mindset. How can I create more sources of income so I can feel more secure financially? And that's a wonderful mindset to have, and I truly believe that you have to diversify your income stream if you want to be financially free. Second is that I really care about the niche that I was working on. I own 2 cats and they are my family and I love them very much. And the niche my store is in pet fashion apparel products, because I thought to myself, I want to have a way to express my love to them, and one of the best way I can see how is to buy them nice things. So the industry I was on, I was very passionate about. And here's a little background about the shop that I was running. My primary focus is to sell pet bandana and a trucker hat for the owners. My thinking was that if a pet owner wants to buy something nice for their pet, and eventually they will get used to the brand and they will like to buy something nice for themselves as well. But after I launched my e-commerce store, I realized that I made mistakes along the way that really prevented me to have a successful venture in this area. And remember to stay tuned for mistake number 3, which was a huge one that really cost me a lot of money to learn the lesson there. So mistake number 1, product selection process. So in order to have a store, you need to have products. In my case, I had a very limited budget to start with, around $2,000. So I had to make a decision during the sourcing process. Do I want to focus on buying small number of bandana with different styles and sizes, or do I want to focus on one style that can bring me unit economics so I can buy a whole bunch of inventory and have a lower unit price? This was a costly mistake because I went with option number 2. My background, I always thought of, okay, as long as I can sell them, one of them will make very, very high margin. While that is true, I was getting ahead of myself because unit economic is something that you think about after you prove that your product has a demand. Basically, I was trying to scale before I had a proof of concept that my product is something that the market wants. That was a very, very bad way of spending my limited budget, because I thought, okay, as long as I can focus on selling this one style, I can make very, very high margin and use those money to buy other styles and inventory. But as it turns out, if the color or the style that I decided to put all my money on didn't mesh well with the market, I would be left with a whole bunch of inventory and no money to purchase other product lines. And that's exactly what happened. So even though I had a strategy going into the product selection process, it really didn't go my way, and I'm left with a whole bunch of inventory and no money to diversify and try to create sales. So the takeaway from my mistake number 1 is think about scaling unit economics later down the road. Have a proof of concept first with a very small number of items. And now comes mistake number 2. And mistake number 2 that I made was that I underestimated the time commitment it requires to start an e-commerce store, especially at the very beginning. So my situation is that I see this as a side venture. I have a full-time job myself. I also have things like this YouTube channel, my hobbies of playing poker. I also trade stock market and invest. So all those things require my attention, and starting an e-commerce store requires a lot more energy and focus and dedication into thinking about the whole process. Marketing, how are you going to structure your social media posts? Where do you want to spend your marketing budget? Things like product selection, talking with vendors, sourcing, managing the shipments and supply chain. All those things require my focus. And especially if you're new at this, it will require you to not just do those things, but learn those things as well, which was very, very difficult. So the takeaway is that you have to think of your e-commerce store as a part-time job to dedicate, I would would say at least 20 hours per week into it. So now comes mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 was a big one because it is something that not many YouTubers talk about, or when they do talk about it, they try to skip over it because whether they want to create a false impression that starting an e-commerce store is easy, or they're trying to sell their courses. So mistake number 3 was that I underestimated the amount of money you have to spend on marketing in order to really gain traction on your store. Here's what I mean. On popular YouTube channels out there, they will talk about, oh, it's so easy to start a drop shipping store. It's so easy to start a e-commerce store. You just have to post on social media, find a good brand deal, pay them like 10 bucks, 20 bucks, and then you will get a lot of return on your marketing budget. That is a total lie, especially here in 2022, where traditional social media marketing has really shown that it's no longer as easy as it was back in 2015, 2016. One is because the cost of social media marketing has gone up tremendously. And second is that there are a lot of people block companies like Facebook to track its users. So targeted ads are not as effective as before. So really the old way of doing things where you spend $1 on social media marketing, where you get hundreds of thousands of impressions, which led to tens of thousands of dollars in sales, is no longer here. My personal experience is that I spent hundreds of dollars on Instagram marketing, Facebook marketing, and they turn to 0 sales. So when I try to work with social media influencers, the calculated ROI is basically almost negative. So don't believe everything that you watch on YouTube channel where they just say, oh yeah, just find a influencers and create a campaign and then you'll make sales, your first sales that way. It doesn't work that way anymore. What I think will actually work in the future is using social media not as paid acquisition, but as a free tool to build your community. Because building community doesn't cost money. At the same time, you actually gain loyal fans who are willing to look at your content and try to listen to what you have to say. That takes more work of you consistently posting content, sharing things that people like, and those people finding out about your brand and try to buy things off of your brand. So there you have it. Those are the 3 biggest mistakes and takeaways that I learned from my failure to launch a successful e-commerce store. I do hope that you enjoyed the content of this video. If you would like to learn more about business, finance, investing, don't forget to like and subscribe.